Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Monday, April 8th, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB or my MLB season pass, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Monday, Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to see Logan Allen for Cleveland. No official starter for the Sox right now. Logan Allen, his first start of the season wasn't the best. He was still able to get the win for Cleveland, but it was 5 innings of 6-hit, 3-run ball with 2 home runs given up. Want to keep the ball on the ground, but in the next game against Seattle, he was excellent. 6 2/3 innings, a shutout baseball. It was an 8-0 Guardians win. They've been playing well this season, and you're facing in this matchup a White Sox team that has not started the season well against left-handed pitching. Offensively in general, the White Sox are struggling quite a bit, but going into Sunday's game, the White Sox are ranked 29th in team OPS with a .469 team OPS. Strikeout rate at 37.7%. These are going to be really, big numbers, drastic numbers, because it's early in the season. They're small sample sizes, and you can't put too much weight into them. But still, it's noteworthy to see how Chicago is really struggling against southpaws. And we know this White Sox bullpen. We're not sure who's going to be the official starter, but the White Sox bullpen is one of the worst in baseball on paper. We saw them struggle in that Royals series quite a bit. And I think against the Guardians team, it's patient at the plate, limits the strikeouts, get on base. I think they're in trouble. And this is also Cleveland's home opener, believe it or not. The Guardians opened the season with 3 road series. And for them to be this, far above 500 to start the year, pretty impressive stuff from the Guardians. Give me Cleveland on the money line and the run line in this one. Next up, it's the Miami Marlins taking on the New York Yankees. A pair of southpaws on the mound in this one, Jesus Luzardo and Nestor Cortes Jr. This is a tough game for me because on one hand, it is really tough to back the Marlins right now with how much they've struggled to start the year. But on the other hand, I don't love Nestor Cortes so far. He wasn't great in spring training, and so far in the regular season, an 0-1 record with a 6.3 ERA. He was better against the Arizona Diamondbacks in that last start, but he got out of a lot of jams, including the first inning, where he could have gotten taken out of the game in that first inning if it wasn't for a miracle double play that made no sense. The Diamondbacks tried to run a weird play, but in that game, it still was 8 base hits in 5 innings with only 2 strikeouts, not missing a ton of bats to start the year. Miami doesn't have great numbers offensively against lefties, righties, against anybody, but still, they should be able to get to Cortes for at least a few runs. The concern for me is Jesus Luzardo. While he's probably the best starting pitching option in this rotation, he still has an ERA above 4, and he's given up 2 home runs, at least a home run in each of his first 2 starts. And, his last game, 5 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs. Not miserable stuff, but the Yankees have a very good lineup. They hit lefties pretty well, and Luzardo last year was much, much better at Lone Depot Park than on the road. So a hitter-friendly ballpark in the Bronx, tough place to play. I can't go with the Marlins here. I'm going to go with the New York Yankees on the money line. Their bullpen's been better as well, far better. A lot of bullpens have been better than the Marlins this season, so give me the Yankees on the money line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to see Mitch Keller and Reese Olson as your starters. Mitch Keller has struggled to start the season, 0-1 with a 6.55 ERA, but I do think it's noteworthy to mention that he pitched his first 2 games on the road at Miami and at Washington. And last year, Mitch Keller was not a great road pitcher. When you look at the home and road splits, 104 innings of work. He was 6-6 with a 5.35 ERA. He had much better strikeout numbers on the road, but like I said, the ERA was up above 5. While he was below 3 at home. He was in 90 innings of work, 7-3 with a 2.9 ERA. So yeah, the strikeout numbers weren't as strong, but his control was much better, and he was giving up a lot less sharp contact. So I think Keller bounces back, has a good chance of bouncing back in this game. And, Reese Olson, I do like Reese Olson. His first game looked really solid against the New York Mets, but that is one of the weaker lineups in baseball. I think the Pirates have the advantage in the bullpen department in this game. And while I'm leaning towards the under, I also like the Pirates to win this game as well. So I'm going to go with the under and the Pirates on the money line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to see Aaron Ashby and Graham Ashcraft as the projected starters. Ashby, of course, making his season debut here. When I think of both of these starting pitchers, I think of the one word, inconsistency. We've seen some great stuff from these guys, really sharp outings, and then we've also seen them get absolutely crushed. We saw that from Ashby in the spring training, the last spring training outing back on March 26th. It was against the Rockies. 5 1/3 innings, 10 base hits, 5 total runs, 4 of those were earned. He hit another batter, so he had 2 different outings with a hit by pitch. a few walks in spring. His strikeout numbers were a little bit low. And for me, it's tough to have a lot of faith in his game in this spot at a very hitter-friendly ballpark against a very competitive lineup. Graham Ashcraft, like I said, we've seen some really, especially in the beginning of the season last year, he was really sharp, and then he got crushed towards the middle of the season. But his first start of 2024, while he gave up those 2 home runs, he still went, quality start. 6 innings of 2 earned run baseball with 5 strikeouts and only the 1 walk. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds at home in this game. I think it's going to be a competitive game and a competitive series. I just trust Ashcraft a little bit more right now. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Luis Castillo and Jose Barrios are your starters. Luis Castillo, I do think he'll be able to sharpen it up eventually. Right now, he's 0-2 with a 6.75 ERA, but it's tough to back him right now. I mean, his last start, he gave 10 base hits against the Cleveland Guardians. And while, the BABIP is really high right now, so we should expect, some regression, positive regression in his game. It's also, now, I don't have a lot of faith in this Mariners lineup. They have not been, when you look at this lineup, especially towards the bottom of the order, just not a lot of great at-bats put together. And, Seattle was a team I thought had a really good chance of, making some noise in the AL West this season. But I'm a little bit concerned. We know the bullpen's good. We know the starting rotation's good on paper. But with Castillo struggling and Barrios on the other side pitching really well for Toronto, 2 quality starts to start the year against good teams, the Rays and the Astros, both on the road. Now, Barrios gets to pitch at home where he's been better in his time with the Blue Jays. I got to go with Toronto in this game on the money line. They were competitive against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. They've been on the road this entire season, like similar to the Guardians, but they played the Astros, the Yankees, and the Rays to start the year, really like a gauntlet of a schedule. And it doesn't get too much easier against Seattle here, but I like their chances to win this first game. Next up, it's the New York Mets taking on the Atlanta Braves. Julio Teheran and Charlie Morton are your starters. Teheran facing his former team. He's also making his Mets debut. Not somebody I'm looking to back too often. Last year in 71 and 2/3 innings, only the 50 strikeouts with a 4.4 ERA. He doesn't miss a lot of bats, and I think the Braves, one of the best lineups in baseball, a team that we saw down 6-0 in the first inning of the second game of that Diamondbacks series, come all the way back and score 9 runs to win at 9-8. This Braves lineup is as dangerous as it's been the last couple of years. It should get to Teheran and the Mets bullpen in this game. And then Charlie Morton, while he's had some consistency issues the last couple of years, he was razor sharp his first game of the season, 5 2/3 innings, shutout baseball, 6 strikeouts. I think Morton's good enough here for a Braves win and a run line cover. Give me the Braves in this big rivalry series. I like Atlanta laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Minnesota Twins. James Paxton and Louis Varland are your starters. The Twins have had a slow start to the season offensively, and the early season injury to Royce Lewis certainly plays a part in that. But Minnesota's been a bit better against lefties. Their OPS is, at 784 so far, but the isolated power is still not great, and the strikeout rate is through the roof, and this team strikes out way too much for me to have a lot of faith in their game. In this one, James Paxton, 5 innings, 5 strikeouts in that first start against San Francisco. The control was off, quite a bit, of 5 walks in that game, but still, Paxton looked pretty solid in spring training. I think he pitches well in this game, and well enough for the Dodgers bats to back him up. Louis Varland struggled so far this year, 6.75 ERA. He only went 4 innings against the Brewers in that first start, a home run given up, 2 walks. And, the Twins have a good bullpen, but the lineup is just not where it needs to be for me to have a lot of faith in them in this game. And honestly, in this series, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers on the money line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. We're going to see Miles Mikolas and Spencer Turnbull as your starters. When you look at Miles Mikolas last year, his home and road splits, they were actually flipped from where we were used to seeing from Mikolas. At home, he had a 5.55 ERA, and on the road, it was at 4.05. So he was much better on the road last season. But, Busch Stadium is really a pitcher-friendly ballpark. So I do think that Mikolas bounces back at home this season. And we saw him bounce back after a rough first start of the year, pitched really well in his next start, a quality outing against the Padres, 6 innings, 2 runs. He only had 4 strikeouts, but Mikolas more of a pitch-to-contact guy to begin with. No home runs given up and only 1 walk. The Phillies have a very tough lineup. I think Mikolas pitches pretty well in this game, and I like Spencer Turnbull on the other side. He was excellent in his season debut against a tough Reds lineup. 5 innings of no earned run baseball, gave up 1 unearned run, but 7 strikeouts, no walks, no home runs. So the per nines are exactly where you want them to be. I'm going to go with the under here in Philadelphia, St. Louis. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Texas Rangers. Framber Valdez and Andrew Heaney are your starters. Last year, when you look at the numbers for both of these starting pitchers against the opposition, they weren't great, especially Framber Valdez, who, his first game against the Rangers, it was 6 innings of 1 earned run baseball, but gave up 4 unearned runs as well. He also notably struggled in the playoffs against the Rangers. It was 2 2/3 of 4 earned run baseball with a homer, and then 5 innings of 3 earned run baseball with 2 home runs. Both of those losses for the Astros in the playoffs. We also saw a game where he got absolutely crushed in a 13-5 Rangers win, 3 2/3 innings, 6 earned runs, 2 home runs. So for me, with how strong the Rangers lineup has been overall, but also how strong they've been against Framber, I got to go with the Rangers here. He had hit or miss starts against the Astros last year, struggled a bit in the postseason, but I like what I saw from him in that first game of the regular season against the Rays, and I think he's the better option in this matchup just because of how much Framber has struggled against this Texas lineup. I'm going to go with the Rangers on the money line at home. They're a great home team. I need to grab the W. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Colorado Rockies. This one, Zach Gallen and Kyle Freeland's a rematch of the opening day matchup between these two starting pitchers, and I bet the Rockies are looking for a little bit of a different result in this game than what they saw on opening day. That was a 16-1 Diamondbacks win, and Zach Gallen's been sharp this season, 2-0. He had a shutout against the Yankees last game, 6 innings of 6 strikeout baseball. And, I looked at the numbers. Zach Gallen's actually really sharp at Coors Field in his career. I think he has a sub-3 ERA there, so it's tough to get there with the Rockies. While they're a solid and profitable home team in certain seasons, Kyle Freeland struggling so much against the Diamondbacks and Arizona in general, hitting lefties. And when we saw on Saturday against Max Fried, they scored 6 runs in the first inning. So the Diamondbacks are crushing lefties. They faced the lefty that they already crushed once in Freeland, and Gallen's been sharp this year and at Coors Field in his career. Got to go with Arizona laying the 1.5 runs on the road. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Zach Eflin and Tyler Anderson are your starters. When you saw, Zach Eflin's last start against the Rangers, exactly what you wanted to see if you're a Rays fan is he struggled quite a bit in that first game against the Blue Jays, 6 earned runs, 3 home runs, but his start against Texas was 6 1/3 innings of 1-run baseball, no home runs, only 1 walk, and he had 5 strikeouts, and that's one of the best lineups in the American League and in all of baseball. So really, promising start for Eflin. I think he pitches well in this game. The Rays bullpen, while it wasn't great in that Coors Field series, pitching in LA against a lineup I'm not crazy about in the Angels, I think they have a solid series. And, Tyler Anderson, he was sharp in that first game of the year. He was pretty solid in spring training as well. He went 7 innings of shutout baseball. Now, that was against the Marlins, but still 5 strikeouts. He was excellent. That was a 3-1 Angels win. You got the Tampa Bay Rays coming off the Coors Field series with no days off in between. That's very key. I expect some sluggish bats in this game. Give me the under in the Rays-Angels ballgame. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres taking on the Chicago Cubs. Javier Assad and Yu Darvish are your starters. Yu Darvish pitched well in his last game, 7 innings, 3 runs. It was a quality start, and he hits 6 strikeouts, only 1 walk in that ball game, and usually it's good enough. That kind of line is good enough for a win for most teams, but it was a 5-2 loss for San Diego in the end, and just goes to show you this bullpen's been inconsistent this year, and the lineup's also been very inconsistent. Javier Assad pitched well in his first start of the season. The Cubs lineup has been one of the better ones in the National League to start the year. I think if they can find a few runs on Darvish early, they should be able to win this ball game. I'm going to go to the Chicago Cubs in this game on the money line. And the final game we're going to talk about for the Monday card in Major League Baseball, it's the Washington Nationals taking on the San Diego Padres. Trevor Williams and Blake Snell are your projected starters. Now, certainly on the surface, this looks like an absolutely lopsided pitching matchup. You got Trevor Williams, who pitched pretty well in his first start, but we know not somebody we usually back too often. And Blake Snell, the reigning National League Cy Young winner, on the other side, making his Giants debut in this ballgame. However, the last couple of seasons on Ron's rundown, we've been fading Blake Snell early in the year because he is, notoriously a slow starter. This season, more than ever, I think it is worth a look to fade him, at least in this game. Blake Snell, because of the free agency, he was a free agent for quite a long time in the offseason. He didn't sign a deal with the Giants until pretty much the last minute, and he was not able to pitch in spring training. So somebody that already struggles at the beginning of seasons doesn't even get that spring training opportunity with San Francisco, and now is thrown into his first start of the year here. I know the Nationals aren't a great lineup, but they're actually a team that competed pretty well with the Giants last year at Oracle Park. And I expect, Blake Snell not have a very large pitch count in this game. We know his control is always a little bit of a concern. He's got great strikeout stuff, but because he walks a good amount of batters, his pitch count can go up early. I wouldn't be shocked to see Snell only go 3 to 5 innings at the most in this ball game. And you got that, Giants bullpen that's been here and there. It's been so-so this season. Trevor Williams, like I said, not somebody we back very often, but he pitched well in that first game against Pittsburgh, and it was good enough for the Nationals to win that game. 5 1/3 innings, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. We don't see him miss a lot of bats, but he had 5 strikeouts, no home runs. Good enough for me to take a shot over Washington in this game. A patient lineup that doesn't strike out much against Snell. We're going to get plenty of opportunities to back Snell later in this season, but this is just not one of the best ones in my opinion. Give me the Washington Nationals on the money line plus the 1.5 runs in this game. And that's it. Those are the games for Monday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.